Welcome back to another video. Once again, I'm in the dark. Not for long this time though, as I'm making my way to somewhere I've never been before. Prepared for it today, but this clearing next to me is pretty unique. It's really accessible, and I think it could be a really good spot to do some wildlife photography because moose really like, oh, you can see me. Moose really like big clearings like this. There's bare trees, so you'd be able to see birds in them. Probably be a really good spot for owls. And yeah, I'm not really prepared for it today, and it's hunting season, so I don't want to get shot hanging out with deer. But I'm gonna have to earmark this because we have a lot of low brush like this, but a lot of it is super inaccessible, and there's always a gray area if it's private property or not, but this is super accessible, and it's definitely not private property. Yeah, also just worth noting that as pretty as this is and unique, it is a result of clear cutting. So corporations, cough cough, not going to name anyone, come through and clear cut everything, and then they either plant trees or let it regenerate. But this is sort of relatively early, I don't know, a couple years probably since being harvested. But anyway, it's not great, but it happens. As I'm getting closer to the bridge I was planning on going to, I'm realizing I could have parked a whole lot closer. Look at that. Oh well, for next time, I'm not really complaining. I love a nice early morning stroll out in the cold. And yes, it is cold. The down jackets have made an appearance. Toques are back out, gloves are back out. But the climate around here is just ridiculous. 2 days this week, it was minus 10 in the morning. And 2 days this week, it was plus 20. It also snowed twice. That shouldn't be happening. Oh well, hopefully things get under control, and now that autumn is basically over, winter is not far away. I think it'll be quite important this morning to kind of be on my toes and work quickly because we have some patchy clouds and the sun's coming up, and this, at least this time of year, this isn't really a sunset or a sunrise spot. The sun sets behind some trees in the valley over there, or rises rather, and then it rises, the sun rises over here and sets over here, both of which aren't really ideal for shining light directly in here or across the river. But I think we might get some patches of light, and I'm hoping one might light up the bridge or at least some surrounding trees. So I've just lined up a composition, and sure, it's not the most exciting image. This spot definitely would have been a lot better 2 weeks ago when we still had some fall colors. But I think as the sun's coming up, there might be some nice speckled light that'll give us some unique opportunities. So I'm gonna tough it out. It's not the most artistic photo ever, but I think it's a nice image to showcase this area, which I'll mention in just a minute. But to capture the image, I'm shooting at a 3-second exposure, f/18, ISO 160, just because it's still quite dark. I want a little bit of motion in the water, and that just seems to give me the best balance in exposures. And I'm keeping sort of this little peninsula covered in leaves in the foreground. Then I have the walking bridge off to the left of the frame. Then we have some bare trees in the background. And then in the middle of the river, you see these old posts, which are actually an old bridge, because this used to be the highway that came through here. Why I think it's important to highlight this area, and particularly those posts in the river, is the trail I was walking down. Like I said, it's the old highway, but it's totally abandoned because downriver, as you've heard me complain about a little bit recently, we have a huge hydroelectric dam, which generates lots of power, but comes with its own issues. And this bridge used to be totally above water, and this was the main road around here. But when they put the dam in, water levels rose, totally submerging this bridge and making it totally useless. They also had to relocate a whole settlement that was here in the 60s when they put the dam in. So I don't know, it's kind of a tough story, but I think it's cool to be able to showcase the more modern walking bridge. Actually, the bridge may have been here forever as well. I'm actually not sure when this bridge was established, but really showcase the sunken bridge here. I think it's quite unique. Once again, I'm realizing how hard it can be to work a camera and tripods with cold fingers. I'm seeing lots of potential compositions though. Obviously the bridge, I'll take another image of the bridge. I haven't even walked across the bridge yet, so that might offer another unique vantage point. We have some boulders off in the river over here. Lots of oak leaves sort of scattered across the shore, so I think I'll be able to capture a nice image of them. And then if light comes across anything in here as well, I mean, we have some reeds and some nice oak trees surrounded by some more deciduous trees that still have green needles, so lots of contrasts around here. So all kinds of photo opportunities. Before moving my camera too far from this little gravel peninsula, which was at one point the highway, I gotta stop saying that. I'll put a, anyway, I really wanna channel my, my inner James Popsies and capture the bridge itself. So I have the bridge running through the middle of the frame, boulder sort of in the dead center of the frame, and then you have trees surrounding it on all sides. And I think it's an interesting concept of, you know, human interactions with nature. And it's not normally what I photograph, but I think it's still unique and it could be quite nice. Ooh, it's cold, it's cold. So I'm just trying to find a standout leaf in this big pile of what is mostly oak leaves. And I found one that I think could work as an anchor for an image. And it is right over here, and it's actually not an oak leaf. I'm not sure what kind of, oh, geese. Splash. Sorry, I always get distracted. It is this leaf right here, which isn't an oak leaf, and I should know what it is, but I don't because I need to touch up on my tree knowledge. But it's a different color than all the surrounding leaves. It also has some like foam on it as well, which may or may not help the image, I'm not sure. But I think if I put that dead center and then wait for the leaves to kind of end up in the right position, it could be quite nice. I'm gonna have to work with a faster shutter speed, so I'm gonna have to crank up the ISO, I think. So it's not really an easy place to take a picture. But if I have a shutter speed of 1/160th of a second, f5.6, and ISO 1600, I think I'm getting a fast enough shutter speed to keep it sharp. It's hard to tell, but I'd say it's pretty good. And I'm not sure if I like the foam in the image though. It's almost a little distracting. It adds some interesting textures, but I might see if I can find an area that has just pure clean leaves submerged in water. Touching metal tripods, man, literally gets your fingers like frozen solid. It's only like, I think -1, but I'm not used to this weather yet. I have put my tripod down a lot lower, and I'm trying a really similar thing. 1/160th of a second exposure, f5.6, ISO 1600, which may be a little too high. I guess I'll bump it down a little bit. ISO 1000. I'll have to kind of increase the exposure in post, but I want nice sharp images, and I'm just shooting in burst because they won't all be in focus, but hopefully one is. I'll share both of these leaf images, and please let me know which one you prefer. The one with the white bubbles or the one without. It is changing. Look at that. I just walked across the bridge, and I think there's a much better vantage point of it than right here. That hopefully won't include as much of the houses across the way, so gotta get back over there before that light totally disappears. Oh, this bridge is actually kind of scary. But I think somewhere around here might offer a nice vantage point. Only problem is there's no great spot. Ooh, there's another little point over here in the woods. And there's a really cool duck that I can't quite tell what it is. This is turning into a good morning. Oh, it flew away. Shoot. Look at him go. All right, don't fool around, Tim. You don't have much time left. Actually, this big piece of wood could be a nice foreground subject. You're really seeing how I do this. It's all random. Takes a lot of luck. Okay. Let's try and do this one live. So there's a really interesting piece of wood in front of me. That's offering an interesting foreground subject. Beautiful light in the background, although it is quickly disappearing. And I no longer want that piece of wood in my foreground. Here's what I'll do instead. There's one out in the water. I'll use that as sort of an anchor point. All right, I tend to do these kind of somewhat live anyway, but this one is tricky. Okay. And I realized I've been chewing gum, which is not going to go well. So the image I have framed up, sorry about the weird camera angle, it's at a 25th of a second, f10 ISO 160. There's a bit of a log with some green moss or algae on it, and then another log sort of floating in the water. That really, I don't know, kind of anchors the frame a little bit. And then we have some nice birch trees that are totally lit up right now. And yeah, it's not a amazing picture, but it is quite nice. And you can't pass up light like that. You don't get it every day. Totally scrapped that last image. I've moved 10 yards down shore just a little bit. Now I'm a lot closer to these bright birch trees. And I'm still gonna keep the log in the river in the frame. But this time now I'm a lot closer. There's less of that weird shadow that was coming in from the left-hand side of the image. And the trees look better now as well. So same settings, but I think this image is much nicer. You know what? This scene is just dull enough with one nice pine tree standing out that could make a nice image. I'm gonna have to switch my lens for one that's a little bit longer. So this scene really has no interesting light and not much interesting color, but it's not quite abstract. I think that the use of this one pine tree surrounded by all these other barren trees is just dull enough, but there's just enough color in sort of the exposed birch branches. There's a little bit of speckled orange and yellow of fallen leaves on the ground. And I still think it's worth capturing. I'm going to try and reduce my shutter speed quite a bit because I'd like to get some motion in the water. Looking at that image further on the back of my camera, not actually sure if it works. I'll look at it at home and I'll share it regardless. Let me know if you think that image was worth taking or not. I seem to be quickly running out of nice warm morning light. It's a bank of clouds, pretty thick, that I didn't think they were calling for, that has rolled in and is just about snuffing out the sun. So, well, there's a robin. There's an American robin up there. That's fun. I guess summer is not totally over yet, although it is. And my cold hands are proof of that. Yeah, I think I might try and get one more image of the Submerged bridge. I think that could be interesting if I get a different perspective with good enough light. And then that could be it for this really cool spot. I'm gonna have to come back. I think fall was, well, like with peak colors, would have been the best time to be here, but I bet it's cool at winter too. Sort of frozen water with ice and snow across the bridge. I think that'd be pretty neat. Another thing that I actually just found out super recently, right here, or maybe a little farther upstream, there's actually a waterfall, but because the water levels are higher than they used to be, you can't see it anymore unless, for whatever reason, the water levels go down a lot. So that's just another consequence of building the dam downstream. But yeah, this is a really, really lovely area. One super cool thing about old bridges around here, I don't know when it started and when it stopped, but all the old like cement bridges and definitely the old stone bridges, they all have dates, which I'm assuming is the date that the plans were either approved or when the bridge was actually established. Not entirely sure. But this one, the Submerged one, says 1959. So I don't think I'll be able to capture the bridge as a whole, just because you can kind of see the struts underwater, but I don't think well enough to take a nice image. So I might try and focus in on the number and anything else around it that I can kind of tell the story of the bridge. Standing on this bridge is making me a little nauseous. The wind is blowing it, I'm moving it. I wonder what the stamp on this bridge says. Actually, that's not a bad question. I will try and find it because that could be interesting to know. I'm just gonna shoot this handheld. There's no really good place to set up my tripod up here. As simple as that. There's the two railings that dictate or that denote the sides of the bridge. And then on the far side with the number, there's also like a couple supports that I guess would have been a continuation of the railing. And yeah, it's not amazing, but I think it's cool. And it's just, I think that this is just neat because this is sort of the history of the area. And we have a couple ducks that I missed. Oh, but they're landing now. And I missed them again. Good thing I'm not doing nature photography today. Oh, okay, the camera's still on. Can you see the shaking of this? Like, I'm gonna aggressively shake it now. Oh, there's image stabilization on that. Maybe you won't be able to tell, but it's pretty rocky up here. I'm super cold, and in typical Tim fashion, I didn't eat breakfast before coming out, which is not a big problem because it's November 2nd, which means yesterday was November 1st, which means Halloween candy was on sale. So this is my breakfast. It's delicious, and I might have to call it here. You can't hear me speaking. Anyone who sends me $5, I'll send you that audio clip of me chomping on that Jolly Rancher. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. This is a super nice area. I'm certainly gonna come back. A little disappointed that the light didn't happen the way I wanted it to, but it happens. Please let me know what your favorite image of the morning was. And I probably took a couple extra ones that I'll chuck on the end as a little bonus. And hope we see you on the next one. Till next time. This is actually my real breakfast, but the candy was a nice little treat.